That's kind of with society and government and things we're going through in life, man. It's like people have the power dictate how things go, and that's kind of how this film tells you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of sad but true, really, when power corrupts all, and these definitely are corruptible powers.
So, okay. All right. So let's jump into a couple questions.
Yeah, for sure.
What got you into Jess Franco movies?
Well, originally, I got into Jess Franco first. I discovered him through liking Christopher Lee because I'm
Hmm.
a big Fu Manchu fan. So I saw the first two Fu Manchu film, or not the first, but the two he did for Jess Franco, the fourth and fifth film. What is it? Blood and Castle, Blood of Fu Manchu, Castle of Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
And I had collected all those films on VHS back in the day, and I wanted to see these other two. And I watched them like, oh, these are not as good as the other ones. They're a lot cheaper and kind of hokey and used black and white footage from another movie. And I kind of like dissed it, like I talked about earlier. It's like, oh, this is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
The other ones are better. This guy did Hammer films and blah, 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 blah. So time goes by and all this other stuff. And I kind of look at Franco a little bit and stuff. I kept reading about a little of this and that stuff. And then I'd say in my 20s, I was a little bit into him. And I'm like 48 now. And I got back into him maybe like 4 years ago. And what made me really get back into him was I saw a couple images, certain things that caught my attention. And I saw the movie Slaves. D. Sklavin or Slaves is the one. It's put out through Full Moon.
In the box set, yeah.
Yeah, the box set. And then I ended up buying it through later on the Dietrich one, the Blu-ray. And these are really good. These have like uncut versions. And on some movies, they have like the X-rated version and the regular version. Not this film, but so it's funny. It's like an Easter egg. We were watching a regular movie, like say White Skin and Black Thighs or Girls of the Night Traffic, and you go like left, right, and stuff. Then it jumps to a thing, and you're like, what? And you click it, and then it's like the X-rated version, and it's all full shots. And you're like, whoa, these are the
Wow.
And that made me go, oh my god, like these are these actresses. And I was thinking like, what if Hollywood actresses did a movie and then they did like an X-rated version and it was like an Easter egg or something? Like how crazy would that be? It's like you watch this movie, now you're gonna watch it again with full penetration or whatever.
I think for the most part, you probably get like body doubles or something. But
Yeah, but full like I'm just like wow, and that just blew me away. Like wow, that's a really interesting way. And then I started watching a little more of his stuff, and then I would say Slaves, and then A Virgin Among Living Dead. I watched that, and that just sealed it for me. It was so beautiful, and the way it ended, and the whole thing. And I was like, okay, I gotta give this guy another look. And so I started like watching a few. I started reading. So I bought these books, The Murderous Passions, and it's Murderous Passions right here, the Stephen Thrower one.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That one, part one and part two. So I started reading and kind of researching and read a little bit. Oh, that sounds really cool. And I'd buy a movie. And then I just like started doing it. And at the time I had a good job and had a bunch of extra income. So I just started buying all of his DVDs and Blu-ray, started watching them. And then I was like thinking, you know what? And I like talking film. I like breaking things down, all that other stuff. So I thought, I should do a podcast on Jess Franco because he's done so many goddamn movies. And most of these directors do 10 or 20 films. You do 10 or 20 episodes and that's it or whatever. But Franco, he's got like 174 films or somewhere around there, 200 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you got a lot of content and not a lot of people were doing it. They would do a movie about his or stuff with their other stuff. Like, oh, there's my Blu-ray review of this film or whatever. And over time, so I kind of looked at route and I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I don't want to do stuff everybody else is doing either. So I said, okay, I'll do Jess Franco. And then I started doing it. And now it's been, this October will be 2 years and up to number 99 now. So I just do one a week. And it really, and as a filmmaker, like I said earlier, it really helped me because I learned how he worked and saw tricks he did. And the more stuff I saw that he did that I've done over the way I look at things and film things and self-financing, and a lot of films I'll do for like, I hate to say numbers, but I can do a film for $1,000 or $2,000 and it looks like a $10,000 film or something. It's like, wow, and most people don't think that way and stuff. So it's like, and like we talked about earlier of just saying, okay, well, I can't make Star Wars. Okay, well, who cares? If you could make a movie that's good that you like and other people like, who cares? It's you do your own thing. And it's like, you kind of go way back around. people I used to make fun of, like Doris Wishman, or not make fun of, but that I didn't think was as strong, like Doris Wishman or Ed Wood or Ray Dennis Steckler, those guys. They're really amazing people because they did stuff on their own or had financing, a little financing, and they told their story, and a lot of their stuff still holds up and has an audience 40, 50 years later. People still love the stuff. So what's the difference,
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And let me tell you, so this is how I got turned on to your show.
Okay.
So my origin with Franco is that I saw, I've been a Full Moon fan for a long time.
Yeah.
I had no idea who the hell Jess Franco was, but Charles Band, Full Moon Direct, his website, he starts, we got Jess Franco movies now. We're putting them out on DVD and Blu-ray, and I'm like, who the hell is Jess Franco? And then one day I was messing around on Amazon Prime, and I went through and I saw Female Vampire.
Right.
Okay, knew nothing about Jess Franco, but I was like, what's the fuss here? And I kind of know Charles Band. I know what he's into and stuff. I wanted to see what it was about. And so I start watching it. I'm like, this is one of the most sexual films I've ever seen in my life that's not a porn.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of porn is
elegant, pretty, and all that stuff. Yeah, totally.
It's a beautiful film. Like Female Vampire is gorgeous. Lena's amazing in it. The outfits, the ambiance, the shots, the blue tint to like everything. I was, my mind was sort of blown by it because I kept going back and forth. I was like, am I just enjoying this because it's a ton of nudity, or am I enjoying this because it's something different I've never seen? And so I dug in a little deeper. I was trying to think of what the next thing I got was. I think Vampiros Lesbos was the next thing I watched. Vampiros Lesbos is a very solid film, regardless of.
Yeah.
It's a solid vampire Dracula story. It's a really good film. I just kept digging deeper and deeper, and it's just not all of them are zingers, right? Some of them are not great, but he always tried to do something different, I think, and that's kind of what got me into it. And so I see you posting on Facebook in like the Vinegar Syndrome group, I think, and then the Severin group.
And those ones, trying to get my show. Hey, because usually I would try to do like this title's from Severin, so I'll put it in that group to see who might listen to it or something.
I see this hand-drawn picture of Jess Franco with holding a knife. I'm like, who is this guy? And so I start following your show and listening to you and stuff. Like, I like this guy. And, someone's out there that likes Jess Franco more than I do. And that's cool. It's going to be fun to talk to him. So that's the whole reason I'm glad we could put this together, because it's been a long time of me just saying, kindred spirit is out there. I would like to pick this dude's brain for a little bit. So.
No, that's totally cool. Yeah, because you talked to me earlier, and I was like, hey, and I just came back around again. I was like, hey, let's talk or something. And you were contacting me back around, like, let's do this, man. Let's just get it out of the bag, and we talked about a film that we could do. And I was like, hey, I got this coming up, and you got this, you got that. And, yeah, let's just do it. Just jump on it and have a good time. But yeah, no, Franco's cool. Like, Female Vampire was another one that really started getting me on track and stuff. Going, wow, this is really like same thing. Like going, is it cool because it's the nakedness and stuff, or is it just really beautiful? And I was actually liking the story. And I was like, wow, I'm really liking this. And I like being surprised, and I like I tell people, a lot of the stuff, I think we talked about earlier, a lot of stuff you make fun of or stuff, it's almost like when you're young, it's not that you're intimidated by it, but maybe subconsciously you are, or you don't know things you don't know, you kind of make fun of, and like, oh, that guy's stupid, blah, 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 blah. And then you get older, you're like, oh no, this is amazing, and blah, 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 because you could experience more. Maybe it's life experience, or maybe it's just things we go through when we get older or what, but it's just, I don't know, I think. And I found that with certain music and things and philosophies or certain things, it's just like you can't really knock it till you try it. It's like the old expression, really.
Exactly, and I think that's the Franco appeal for me, is that if I order 2 or 3 Franco Blu-rays from Severin that I've never seen, I really don't even have to read the descriptions. I'm just like, I pop it in. I'm going to see something. Now, it may not be great. It may be very weird. But, I'm going to see something different. I think that's what all of us kind of like cinephiles, or whatever you want to call us, movie buff people.
Yeah.
We're all kind of chasing this dragon of seeing something that's different, not necessarily like offensive or
right.
It's like going back to when you were a kid and you first watched The Goonies, or first watched Star Wars, like you mentioned, like these were like magical moments in your development. So very few things are going to live up to that. So if you can find these like crazy movies that are just something different you never see, it kind of sparks that a little bit, you know?
Yeah, like I tell people, like, for me, I kind of went through a thing in my 20s and 30s where I realized that, like, I think the key to life is to figure out those things you liked as a kid and go back to them and figure out, because that all basically is where it all spins off of. Because the things we're most attracted to is like our first, almost like our gut instinct. Like for me, it was Jason and the Argonauts. I saw Jason and the Argonauts as a kid in the late 70s, early 80s. On the weekends, they would always show old movies at the local theater, and you'd see the kiddie matinees, which they don't do too much anymore. But, you know, I saw Jason the Argonaut and the Sinbad movies and all that stuff. And all those things were so exciting to me and so different. And it captured your imagination. And I think, like you talked about, we all want something that captures our imagination and that we're surprised by and that we look forward to. Not, it doesn't have to shock us and numb us and titillate us and all that other shit. That's whatever. That's our own extra stuff. But just that imagination, the thing that keeps our interest going, you know, and that's huge.
Yeah, because a lot of that stuff that really shocks, and you know, I mentioned a Serbian film earlier. I didn't. That's a well-made movie. I didn't enjoy watching it though. That's
no. I went to that with a friend. A friend said, "Oh my god, you gotta watch something." Blah blah blah. Two guys watch it. I'm a filmmaker. He's a filmmaker. I'm more wild with my sensibilities with film. He's more of a Spielberg, kind of George Lucas guy, whatever. So maybe that's part of it. I'm sure. We sat down and watched it at the end. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm like, that was stupid. That was just like that's fake. I'm like, you know how it was made, and it's just like it didn't really affect me. I just didn't really, I don't know. But to him, it was just like, so yeah, it's just weird.
I think like once I had kids, a lot of my sensibilities changed.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't have kids, and that's a big difference. I do understand that because my brother has a son, and you change when you have kids, and I totally, and especially with that film, I can totally see that.
The two better examples. I mean, that one obviously is like crazy if you think about your kids, but I the first time I watched Pumpkinhead.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I liked the creature.
Right.
But I thought the movie was sort of
right.
Had no impact.
Yeah. No, I hear you. When I first felt that when it first came out too.
And Pet Cemetery, I didn't care for it. I was like, what's the big? But then I had kids, dude. And you see that kid get hit by the motorcycle in Pumpkinhead, and you see Gage get hit by that truck in Pet Cemetery, and you just feel this visceral like pain in the gut, and you're like, okay, this movie's had the impact, and then the story piled on top of it just had. I don't think you have to have kids for that to happen, but that's what it took for me.
And that's a good film because that's very manipulative. It took something that you feel, and they're manipulating that feeling for that story to get that effect, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's part of being a good filmmaker is to have that thing. Like we talked about Franco with tension and other things that you see in imagination and other things. And I definitely am big time influenced by that.
Well, that's a good segue. And you know, we'll have to wrap up pretty soon, but let's talk a little bit about your filmmaking. You've got Lady Hyde.
Yeah, I got Lady Hyde coming out July 21st. It's premiering in Sacramento at the Dreamland Cinema. And we're playing it again the 24th. And then after that, I'm going to look into different film festivals or trying to see where I might want to put it. I'm also going to go through Film Hub and try to distribute it streaming-wise and see if I can try to sell it to Tubi or you know, any of these other channels online and stuff. I'm going to go through that and try to do that. I've never done that before. I've always just sold DVDs at conventions and done it ways, but I taken a few years off, and now the whole game's changed. So now I'm going to try to put out this is my 14th film as a filmmaker, mostly features. I've done maybe like 6 shorts and 8 features, somewhere around there, true crime and horror and everything and stuff. This film, Lady Hyde, is kind of my take on She Killed in Ecstasy. It's mixed with lady wrestling, mixed with a bunch of other stuff and some of my sensibilities and ideas and such. So that's this one. And then I have also, so basically last year I had filmed 2 films, Jess Franco style. Nutshell, I basically worked a job for 2.5 years, was really, really depressed, made a bunch of money, saved with that money, bought the camera, bought some equipment, quit my job, hired a bunch of actors. We shot 2 films in about 2 weeks. And then I about had a nervous breakdown from all going crazy doing all that stuff. But I mean, not really, but just crazy. And then over the last year, I've sat down and editing, putting these films together, and now Lady Hyde's done, ready to be played, and the next film 15 is Emmanuel in Sin City. It's my Emmanuel film, which is crazy because I see they're doing a new Emmanuel movie coming out with Emmanuelle. If you're familiar, there's Manuel from Sylvia Christel, which is 3 films in the 70s. And then they did a whole bunch of knockoffs with Laura Gemser, the Black Emmanuel, and Emmanuel in America, and Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, and all that stuff. And that's Emmanuel with 1 M to get away from the legal problems. So I did a 1 film, or 1 M Emmanuel, and there's about 40 or 50 Emmanuel films out there. So it's a genre unto itself.
Oh, so, wow. Yeah. I've got, and I haven't watched it. I've got Emmanuel and Francois.
Yeah, that's probably the original one. That's where the whole thing came from. It's not an Emmanuel film, but that's the first thing with Emmanuel in the title.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I haven't dug too deep into the history of those. Now I've watched, was it Escape from Women's Prison?
Yeah, with Laura Gemser. She plays Emmanuel in that too. Some of the stuff they retitle Emmanuel because she's in it. They'll call it an Emmanuel movie because Laura Gemser's in it. She's the Black Emmanuel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, that's a whole other thing that you can look into and see. It's a whole. It's a lot about film, whole different subgenres. Yeah, but basically, Lady Hyde is basically a story about a scientist who develops a vaccine for COVID. I had done it before the vaccine actually came out. Shows you I wrote the story like 3 years ago, and kind of cashed in on that. And basically, these other scientists destroy his notes and destroy everything, and he commits suicide. And so the wife goes crazy and kills all the scientists one by one. So that's Lady Hyde. And Emmanuel in Sin City is basically about my Emmanuel is a reporter and a former wrestler and a former model, and she investigates the murder of her friend's sister in Las Vegas, who worked for these pornography rings and snuff filmmakers and that. And so she goes underground and goes undercover to try to figure out who murdered this woman and the people involved, and that's that story. So
that's awesome, dude. I knew you'd made a few. I didn't know 14 though, man.
Yeah, I did Mondo Sacramento Part 1 and Part 2. I did 2 films about true crime in Sacramento, all true stories that I did. And I had Lynn Lowry. I don't know if you know who Lynn Lowry is, but she was in
The Crazies.
Yeah. She's in my Mondo Sacramento 2. She plays killer Dorothea Puente, who was a landlady that murdered 7 people in her backyard. It's all true life stuff back in the 80s.
That's awesome, dude.
So yeah,
I have a funny story about her.
Yeah, go for it.
We were at a convention down in Atlanta. I took a friend of mine. I don't know if it was his first convention or just, one of his earlier ones. Anyway, Lynn Lowry was there. And she had a table, set up a table with the autographs and stuff like that. And there was a picture of her topless.
Right.
I want to say it was like a poster. Like it was a big picture. It wasn't
just
like
Playboy, probably from that maybe or something. Who knows?
It could have been. Now, most cons you have to cover up the nipples or whatever's on there. So she had like quarters strategically placed on them. Someone bumped the table and they slid out of the way, and I looked down. I was like, oh, because we were just talking to her, right? And my buddy just goes without even pausing. He just takes his hand and goes, slid both the quarters back in place. And she goes, thank you so much, you gentlemen. He's like, no problem. It was like the I don't know, like the Captain Morgan putting his foot up on the barrel, or like the most interesting man in the world. It was a funny moment.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was awesome being a director and having her in my film and directing her. That was like probably my high point as a filmmaker, is having Lynn Lowry over and directing her. And then I interviewed her about her career, and she signed all these DVDs and Blu-rays I had of her films, and we went out and had dinner, and she's so cool. She's awesome.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah. Good times.
All right, man. Well, Jason, I've had a good time, man. I think we should do this again.
For sure, Cory. No, I'm totally glad meeting you. It's our first time talking and hanging out, and it seems like we're old friends, so that's always good.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for working with me on this. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thank you for coming on my side of the podcast as well. It's really nice having the Spooky Dudes podcast and all that good stuff. And totally following you guys and gonna go back and listen to all your shows. So looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. And anytime. You guys, if you're listening to Spooky Dudes, go check out the Franco Observer. You can find that on. I get it through my iPhone. You can find it through whatever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, it's 10 or 12 stations we got it on, so we got a lot of platforms.
And it's good that I was talking to you, Jason, because something in our conversation shook my order from the halfway to Black Friday Severance sale loose, and now it's shipped. Woo!
Yay, little Franco jam on you.
Yeah. Franco magic.
I just got mine a couple days ago, or actually Saturday. I got my Macumba Sexual, Faceless, and Mansion of the Living Dead. Finally came in, so
that's awesome. I always wait till they go a little bit on sale. I'm not the initial buyer.
But these Mansion and Macumba were only like $20, so I was like, that's probably what they're going to be, the bottom price anyway. So I went ahead and picked it up because they're just upgrades anyway, but they're still nice to look at. So
I almost did. I got that Nun.
The box set. Yeah,
it was like $40, dude.
Yeah, that the Christopher Lee was marked down, and one other one. I think that 3 box sets are like half price. That is a good deal.
That is a killer deal. All right, man. We could talk all night, but we can't because I'm tired. All right, brother. We will talk to you soon, Jason.
All right, adios.
Huge shout out to my buddy Jason Rudy from the Franco Observer Podcast. If you're into the films of Jess Franco, then this is absolutely a show you need to check out. He's putting out new episodes all the time. There's no one you're going to find on earth that knows more about Jess Franco than maybe Stephen Thrower. But nevertheless, check him out. Jason's a great guy. Also, check out the description below to find links to his socials and some other cool Spooky Dude stuff. So, new content coming soon. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, please. And actually, in the comments, tell us what your favorite Franco movie is.